We got to talk about emotional eating. We got to talk about food cravings. It's a big deal because a lot of people experience it. And it's not just simply about diet. It's not just simply about cutting these things out. It's about getting to the root of what's causing the cravings. Now check it out. It's very common for people to have sugar cravings, cravings for salty, crunchy foods, cravings for high-fat foods, and cravings for alcohol. These are the most common ones that wreck people's diets and struggle with them. Some people their whole entire life, right? So I'm going to go down the line one by one and talk about what emotions and feelings are tied to each craving. So let's start with sugar. Processed sugars, okay? The sugars that, come with the candy, the ice cream, the cookies, the cupcakes, the cakes in general, right? Really sweet, sugary foods, even chocolates, whatever the case may be. When you're having a craving for these things, these types of foods are directly correlated with feelings of depression, loneliness, sadness, a lack of connection. When I say connection, I mean connecting to others, right? Connection with yourself, whether it be intimately, friendships, whatever the case may be, right? Just meaningful relationships and connections. And when you lack that, and it's traumatic enough, and it's chronic enough, it could result in sugar cravings. Number 2, salty, crunchy foods. It can be salty or crunchy, salty and crunchy. Usually the crunchy foods have salt added to them, right? Like nuts and crackers and chips and things like that. This is directly correlated to anxiety. A lot of tension in the chest, a lot of tension in the neck, headaches, uncertainty of the future, right? Doubt, nervousness. Think about what you feel when you have these feelings, right? Think about what you feel when you have these cravings. That could be it right there. Number 3, fatty foods. If you have this compulsive desire to have this high-fat diet, or you just feel the need to eat fatty foods, right? Whether it be you're obsessed with cheese, you gotta eat cheese all the time, right? You can't give up the eggs and bacon. You can't give up meat, things like that, right? You cook with a lot of oil, fatty stuff, right? That is directly correlated with emptiness, feeling unfulfilled, like your cup is running dry. And you got to think a little bit about that one. That can go pretty deep. Because a lot of people don't pinpoint that feeling. Some people think, well, no, I'm fine. I just like fatty foods, right? When you look at your diet and it's just extremely highly fatty, but you're not doing it on purpose like some kind of keto diet, that's just how it works out, there's some emotion connected to it. So you got to ask yourself, how fulfilled do you feel? Do you feel like your cup is full in a good way, or is running kind of dry? Right? Do you feel like your life is meaningful and purposeful, and you feel fulfilled with what you're doing? You feel complete? Think about that, right? Alcohol, number 4. Now this is a tricky one, right? Because some people say, well, I just like to drink alcohol because I just like to drink it. But alcohol consumption, especially excessive alcohol consumption, is correlated to guilt, shame, self-hatred, resentment of yourself, right? You don't really like who you are. You don't feel comfortable with who you are. You feel a little bit ashamed of who you really are or how you tend to behave sometimes. Or you feel guilt about what you've done in the past or things that you have a habit of doing. And this plays out in private and even social situations. For example, let's say you go out with friends, and every time you go out in a social situation, you feel the need to drink alcohol, to loosen up, right? You say, well, I just like to drink just to loosen up. And what you mean by loosen up is losing the inhibitions that allow you to express yourself in an organic and honest way, right? Now, people restrict themselves. They don't really want to be too open about who they are. You don't really want to be too organic or genuine because you don't know if it'll be accepted, right? All that social anxiety and whatnot because you doubt yourself and who you are and you think it's inappropriate or whatever the case may be. You don't feel comfortable maybe with your sexuality or talking to other people and things like that. You just don't feel loose. You feel tight, right? And that can be paired with the crunchy foods. People have the social anxiety because they've embarrassed themselves. They feel like they're embarrassing or whatever the case is. And so you just need to get rid of that feeling. People drown their guilt. If you're really bad to people, you feel like you're really bad to people, you feel like you're a dirtbag or whatever the case is, even subconsciously, you feel like you don't deserve to be happy. Some people self-sabotage, right? Alcohol is a form of self-sabotage. And so if you have that self-resentment or self-hate, you may drink. If you're cynical about yourself, you feel like you can't improve, you don't deserve it, it may lead to drinking. Now, you can have cravings for all of these things, 2 or 3 of these things, but if you have these kind of cravings and you're wrestling with them, and even though you try to cut them out of your diet, you try to live a healthier lifestyle, but you just can't seem to stick with it, it's probably because you're experiencing this emotional damage and trauma. And you have to address it. You have to dive deep within yourself and think, am I really feeling these things? What am I thinking about, right? Think about what you think about when you get these cravings. What is happening in your life when you're experiencing these cravings that you just can't seem to shake? It's more of a mindset and self-development issue as opposed to just simply being a diet issue.